Have you ever looked at the Bible and wondered why those long passages of ancestry for the Israelites are in there? Like, we understand the ones in Matthew and Luke, right? They're there to show that Jesus fulfilled prophecy and that his bloodline trails all the way to Abraham. But what about the other ones that are just all over the place in the first 5 books of Scripture? Well, they have a purpose too. And it might be a little more subtle than you realize. So the reason those ancestry lines are there is because these are historical documents for the early people of Israel, and they just wanted to know that information. It was useful to them, and they wanted to know that they were in fact descendants of Abraham, since he is the one who the covenant was made. But you see, that in and of itself actually serves a deeper religious purpose. By tracking all of those ancestries, the Jews are able to actually guarantee the promise that God upheld to Abraham. This sort of forward thinking actually helps kind of prove some of the earliest parts of Scripture, simply because the Jews were meticulous enough to record all of that data and to make sure that it was stored in such a manner that they would actually be able to understand it, access it, and basically guarantee that God's promise was being kept. Which is really interesting to show that God actually kept his promise by following all of these ancestry lines and making sure of it. I think a lot of times we discredit ancient people in general for not having the forward-thinking nature enough to fact-check their religious documents and guarantee the sources of their gods and their decrees. But the Jewish people are apparently smart enough to take the promise that was made to Abraham and say, you know what? Bet, and ensure that God was following his promise all the way to the new covenant. So next time your eyes lazily gloss over those long passages of who was related to who was related to who, now you know that they serve a purpose not only in the ancient Jewish tradition, but in our modern traditions of ensuring that God has kept his promises all the way up to, during, and after the time of Jesus. So that's neat.